Hello, everyone. Before we start today's interview, I wanted to show my appreciation for all your feedback so far. When I started these interviews, I had the intention to gather information for my own insight, and as I've been doing them, I'm glad I made the decision to record them, because ultimately, there isn't a better form of advice than what comes from personal experience, especially from a person doing what you're striving to do. I hope you've been enjoying the interviews, and I really appreciate all your comments and feedback that you've given me so far. My favorite thing about doing these is the variety that I've had and that I have scheduled coming up. Getting into today's interview, my guest is Jen Rosen, who is a casting director and also now an aspiring comedy writer.
Yeah.
How are you doing today, Jen?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Now, I've known you since college, and we recently, within the last couple of weeks, kind of found you on Facebook, and I was like, hey, you moved out to LA. I've got some questions. What do you say?
Yeah.
And so, thankfully, we were able to, get our schedules aligned, and here we are.
Yeah, I was trying to think, we were in classes together, right? What was, our first class together? Some production class?
I was trying to think of that. I don't know if it was a production class, because I know when I was there and what really, I was doing digital media. You were doing TV, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think with there somehow we got together because the film department kind of was intermingling. I don't know.
I know. It had to have been one of those, mass comm law classes or something, but I know it wasn't that one. But
Yeah.
I forget. But, yes, at UCF, when you're in the film school, you get access to all of the actors. But when you're in the TV school, you do not. So
Right.
You have to make all your friends be in your videos. So me and John did that for each other.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's how it started, but what would you say your background is? What would you say your background is?
Like TV background?
Yeah, I suppose, what got you to where you are now?
So, brief. Let's see. I'm originally from New Jersey. I moved down to Florida to go to UCF. I was into video production since I was a kid, and I can go into that if you want me to. But
Yeah.
And I was just I've always obsessed with TV since I was very, very little. Been obsessed with TV. And when other kids were doing cool things in high school, I was forcing my friends to make friends. So I've always been into it. I went to a New York Film Academy, NYFA camp in Orlando, my junior year of high school, and my goal was to go do the program and then go tour Full Sail with my parents. Full Sail is a big film school down in Orlando. But then all the instructors at NYFA were actually from the UCF TV school, and they've said you really should check out UCF if you want to get more of a college experience. So I checked out both, ended up loving UCF, applied, got in, moved down to Florida, and got my degree in TV production. And then graduated, had a real hard time post-graduation trying to find a job in my field. I had interned at DNP Studios in Orlando, and that was a great experience. I started PAing, being a production assistant, and helping out on set for commercials and things. But come time for graduation, they didn't have it in the budget to hire me. So they were great, but couldn't work there. So I did a couple hospitality jobs that were awful. Made a lot of friends that I still talk to, but we always talk about it as being the worst time in our lives. Getting paid $7 an hour to park golf carts and stuff.
Yeah, really furthering your career.
Yeah. I remember just driving around the golf carts dreaming of LA. So finally, one day, um, I had a boyfriend who is just recently now my husband, and he.
Congratulations, of course.
Thank you, thank you. Um, uh, and so I like had it just been me, I would have, I think, right out of college, I would have been like, where can I go? But I stuck around because he's from Florida, and did the thing. And finally, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to be somewhere where there are jobs in my field. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
finding anything here. So, so we moved out to LA. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's yeah. So
And we'll
try to
get
make that
into
work.
that a little more, but
Yeah.
you mentioned that you've been interested in it for a long time. What would you say first int, um, interested you in TV video production? If we want to get really general with it, what?
Yeah, I was trying to, when you told me that question before, I was trying to think of like what was the number one thing. And I think, I mean, I have just been like a ham since I was a kid,
Hmm.
and I think that I like had you had asked me in fourth grade what I wanted to be, I probably would have said like Shania Twain. Like I wanted to be like Britney Spears as I got older. And then
Yeah.
when I realized that I wasn't that great as a singer, I was like, how else can I still be in this industry? I want to, and I think video became introduced to me through like video production in high school, and I just stuck with it. I found out that I was really good at it. I really liked it. Felt like I had a little bit of an eye for it, and kind of realized that like, oh, the TV that I am obsessed with, like I could one day, make that. That would be awesome. So
Hmm.
I think I just kind of got on that path early on in high school and stuck with it.
Yeah. I I feel like I kind of had the opposite way, where because I think I was fairly similar. I think my mom said it was maybe preschool or first grade, really early on. There was a Christmas concert or something, and I of course don't remember it, but apparently I was the loudest one. I don't know if it necessarily sounded good, but that I was the loudest one. And I started out in high school. I acted and did theater and that kind of thing. And I don't know, for me it wasn't necessarily what other people were saying, but for me it was I didn't think that I was as good as the other people I was acting with.
Hmm.
And so knowing that mixed with, well, it's really hard to make it as an actor, then I was like, well, maybe I should try the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
So that's when I started approaching video. Um, so that's a little about me if you didn't, know
Yeah.
otherwise.
That's awesome.
Um, uh, so what made you end up deciding on LA? Because I know in my experience with talking to different people, here and on different productions that I'm on, they'll say, oh, well, there's New Orleans, it's the new LA. You've got, oh, Tyler Perry opened yet another soundstage in Atlanta,
Atlanta.
so that's going big. Nashville's booming. I heard recently that instead of it being a 15-minute town, now it's a 25-minute town. Heard similar things about Austin, that, Chicago is the place to go for commercials, but it seems like even all that being said, with the incentives or whatever you want to call it, LA seems to still be the the main goal of a lot of people. And
Yeah.
what was it that ultimately made you decide? Because I'm sure you got some of that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, since I was a kid, and I don't know why, maybe it's just because of the movies, but since I was a kid, I've always wanted to live in California.
Sure.
Granted, I grew up in New Jersey, so I didn't have the awesome like experience that you Florida kids did, like winters at the beach and stuff like that. Like I just like
Right.
California was like a nice warm place, and Florida wasn't even like a part of my ideas. But yes, when I was moving, and it's different for everyone because it depends on what you're going through. But like for me, I was in Florida. My parents had moved down to Florida too, so my parents were there. They didn't want me to move far away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from New Jersey, so New York was an option.
Right.
All my friends and family are still up in New Jersey. And my very best friend and writing partner uh,
Mm-hmm.
is went to NYU and is in New York City, and so that was an idea. But because I was in a very long-term relationship and with a super Floridian, I knew he would never really want to move to New York City and go through those kind of winters and things like that. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
knew that wasn't an option. But Atlanta was a big one on my list just because it was within driving distance of Florida, and
Sure.
my mom's from Atlanta originally, and so I have family there as well. But at the end of the day, as soon as Matt, you know, decided that he was going to be on board with moving wherever I wanted to move, then I was like, then let's just do it. Because no
Mm-hmm.
matter what I did, I knew if I moved to a Chicago or a Texas or Atlanta, that I was eventually still going to want to move to LA. And I was
Right.
like, why prolong it? Why, there's like so many different things. Like, oh, I could go back to school and get my master's. It's like, yeah, but like, no one's ever going to ask you if you have your master's in TV. Like no one,
Mm-hmm.
no one out here has ever asked me where I went to school,
Uh-huh.
or what I did. And I kind of had that feeling, and I was just like, I want to be in LA. Why? Yeah, why take years off the hunt when I'm just gonna have to start over when I finally get there? And I'm so happy I made that. That was like, for me, that was the right decision, absolutely, because when you come out here, no one really cares about, in Orlando, I did an internship and I worked on commercials, blah, blah. They're like, I don't care, what have you done out here that's like relevant to us, so you kind of have to
Mm-hmm.
start over out here no matter what you do. So I always say the sooner you can do it for you, then you should do it.
Mm-hmm. And so, you've mentioned a few times that because Matt was, grew up here and all of that, that was kind of keeping you from wanting to go. Was there anything else, that you were thinking about
All right.
or
LA One in traffic, you wrote.
that you were thinking, what if this, or what were any concerns you might have had? Because
Oh
I know
yeah.
that I've got some of my own, and so
Yeah.
what was it for
First of
you?
all, I don't know. You're a little bit either.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Go ahead.
how old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh, you're 28. Okay, same thing. I'm young for my grade. Um, so I mean, I was 23 coming out here, so I feel like now, being a little bit more of an adult, like I would understand more. But like back then, I had seriously no money. Like parents were still definitely helping me out. And so first of all, like, okay, once I get out there, like the cost of living, everyone uh, in Florida is obsessed with the cost of living in California. Everyone's like, what
Mm-hmm.
about the cost of living? The gas is going to be crazy. The apartments are going to be so expensive. And it's like, yes, I would definitely suggest, having some savings, but like, you also just got to have like some faith that you'll find work, and you will. But so we came out here with a little bit of savings, honestly, not much, but that was the biggest concern. Can we afford it if we go out there? Because I moved out here without having. I quit my job at my hospitality job in Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple months later, we just packed up and moved across the country. Had no idea where we were gonna live. While we were driving here, had no idea. Had no idea where we were gonna work. Knew
Wow.
knew like 3 or 4 people out here, but no one that we could like crash on their couch. Like that's a lot of people crash on couches, but we didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anyone close enough to do that. So It was a huge gamble and it was really scary, but I look back on it and think like, wow, that was cool. We did it. Like we actually got out here. But it was definitely scary at the time.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my biggest fear because it's like, you think well, I don't know about you, but along with, what you hear about, oh, the good things about LA or the bad things about LA, you you have the story, oh, it'll eat you alive,
Oh
or
yeah.
that
Um,
the worst thing, worst case scenario, you end up on the street, you end up having to, do who knows what to keep going or whatever, and it's like that. It's scary,
you don't think
That's
you'd be a good hooker, John?
well. I'd like that to be a personal choice, not something out of necessity.
Yeah, I totally, well, and I think people around you who want you to stay close to you try to, keep you close and try to scare you even more. I remember my mom, who was like my best friend, the first thing she said when I said I wanted to move up to LA, she was like, "You're not gonna fit in there. Everyone's tall and skinny and gorgeous, and you're gonna feel like," and it sounds so mean for her to say, but she was
Hmm.
just trying to keep me at home. But
Right.
that's a fear, like coming out here and having everyone be like a movie star. That is so false. I very, very rarely run into people that are like, "Yo, you should be a movie star." And I work in reality too, so I see a lot of people all the time.
Hmm.
I there's that is not something to worry about. I've also heard I was really scared about getting out here and everyone being like knowing more than me and being kind of snooty and being like, "We're from LA and
Right.
we work in the industry and you're new and you're from Florida, you don't know anything," right? But everyone, in the general sense, everyone, if you're open and nice to people, they are totally open and nice to you. That, like, I've met very few Hollywood types,
Hmm.
and since I've been here.
So you're saying that the people aren't like they are in Pretty Woman,
Yeah,
where you go
no,
down Rodeo Drive and I want to buy clothes and we don't have anything in your size
yeah.
or something like that.
Well, I'm sure Rodeo
Well,
Drive
right.
is like that, but I have walked up and down and had people like kind of look at me, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it's just one street. It's just stay off that
Yeah,
one street.
okay, maybe that part is accurate, but
Yeah.
you okay. And what, you had the schooling, you had the desire, um, and you knew the place you wanted to go, but what has been your goal, or what is still your goal? I guess not only life, career, all of that kind of stuff. I know it's kind of a big question, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
no pressure.
so I can't really remember, like, if you had asked me 4 years ago when I moved out of here what my goal was, I feel like I wouldn't have had as clear of a vision.
Hmm.
I always wanted to work in scripted television, and I always wanted to work in comedy. I didn't really know what. Just recently, in the last like couple years since I've been out here, I've met a lot of people and kind of realized that what I really want to do is get into a writer's room of a
Hmm.
scripted comedy show and try and work my way up to like a staff writer and then maybe be a showrunner one day. So that's kind of like the path that I'm trying to follow now.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, but I think so. What happened when I moved out here? Why I got to be a casting manager for reality shows is that so I moved out and um, didn't work for like a month and a half or so.
Hmm.
Very scary, month and a half,
Yeah.
which I can tell you about too. But just kind of like messaging everyone I knew who knew anything about LA, was out here or lived anywhere in California. Just like
Hmm.
anyone help me. This one friend who was from UCF, I had taken a couple classes with him, became friends with him at UCF, had moved out here like a couple months before me, so I knew he wouldn't have like an abundance of knowledge, but I figured I'd ask him, and he was like, well, I just started work as a PA at this reality company. I have no power or pull at all, but if they need someone, I'll let you know.
Mhm.
And sure enough, a week later, they called. He gave him my resume. They called me a week later and they said, "Hey, what do you like? Are you available right now? Can you be here in less than a half an hour?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely," knowing nothing about what I was going to do when I got there. And
Uh-huh.
and I've pretty much been working not at the same company necessarily, but pretty much with the same group of people ever since then. So
Mhm.
that was huge. But so I kind of fell into reality and was a PA at that company for a long time. And then uh, they had a casting company running out of it that was kind of they didn't own it, but they were associated with it. And I became friends with all the casting people, and they started hiring me for jobs on the side, and then it turned into full time. And then I just kind of kept chugging along, and it's been awesome. But I kind of lost sight of when you're working full time and you're working really hard trying to make contacts and further yourself, you kind of lose sight of like why you moved here in the first place. So that's what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Just as of a couple months ago, actually, I've decided like I'm taking hiatus. I thought right now, as any new person would be moving out to LA, because I'm kind of choosing a whole new path and starting over.
Right.
So
And so I guess if you were to do it over again, how do you think you would go about it? What would you do anything different, or is it just you kind of just have to do some hustle and then eventually something happens, or
yeah. Um, well, the one thing I wish I did differently, and I didn't know that I would tell people is be very upfront from the beginning what you want to do. And I
Mhm.
didn't think I could do that without being disrespectful, but there are definitely ways. Like when I first got my job at this reality production company, I was like, reality's my dream. This is what I want to do because I wanted people to like me. I didn't want people to think I didn't want
Right.
to be there. So when people said like, oh, what do you want to do? I'd say like, I want to work here forever, obviously. Like I want to, when I started doing casting, they're like, if I was a casting PA, they're like, what do you want to be? I was like, I want to be a casting manager. I want to be a casting director, like whatever, so, which I totally suggest not doing. Like, they'll still give you work even if they know that, like, because everyone right now who's working in reality, 90% of us are all trying to get into either film or scripted television. Like, not many people move out to LA to work in reality TV, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of work and there's where the money is and stuff like that. So, and you can enjoy it. And I've enjoyed everything I've worked on so far. But yeah, I would definitely say be open and honest and just say like, I'm just looking for work and I like would love to be here, but I want to be a writer or whatever because people,
Mhm.
the more they know what you want to do, they totally help you out. Ever since I've started being like open about it, everyone's like, oh, I might know a person who's a writer. Like everyone will try to hook you up, which is
Hmm.
key. It's awesome. So
Yeah,
if they
because
never
that's a
know, they never
worry too. That it's like I don't know any. Like for me, even though as I think about it, I do know a few people, but the power of your own imagination that I don't know anybody out there. Blah 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 blah. What am I gonna do? I'm
know.
gonna end
Yeah.
up on the street, or something like that. And I mean, is there aside from person to person, you know, I might know somebody that kind of route. Are there other resources like online or what have you? Because I know of there's like Staff Me Up. I'm on
Hmm.
there, and when productions come through here, I get them through that. But is there other ones that you know of?
Yeah, and it's actually a similar question that I've just been asking about to people who work in scripted because
Uh huh.
it's crazy. Like another reason why you want to be open is because the path that you choose, you get very locked into certain bubbles. So,
Mhm.
like I can tell you whatever you want to know about reality casting, but um, as far as like I have no idea. Like I just asked someone if there was Facebook groups or something for script for people looking for writers PAs or writers assistants because I have no idea. But for us, we always post on. It's always friends of friends first. Everyone always goes to everyone who's at work, who knows the people that's available, who has a reference, who likes this person. That's always the
Right.
first thing in LA. Like you, number one is to know someone who knows someone. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Personality over experience, would you say?
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, experience helps, but yeah, if I mean,
Yeah.
and being like, if the thing is, yeah, personality has to get you in, and then like your skills have to keep you there, you know. So
Right,
like to get
right.
you in, like you definitely have to like have someone vouch for you, and then as soon as someone says like John's amazing, and then you come in, and then you actually are amazing, then like then you're set. But you
Hmm.
definitely have to follow up and be amazing.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah, your recommendation is what gets you in definitely. But for us, there's Facebook groups, there's PA Nation, there's I Need a PA, I think I Need Crew. So we use our
Hmm.
Facebook groups. I think the ones that I used to use down in Florida, like Mandy or something, is that one?
Yeah, there's Mandy, there's Elance, there's
Yeah, I don't
Step Me
think
Up.
so. Stack Me Up, I think people use out here a little bit more.
Yeah.
But all the sites that I used to be on, production something, I can't remember. But yeah, not not too much because by the time some like a company is like desperate enough to post on one of those, like most likely someone has found
Hmm.
someone via someone that they know out here.
Right.
Um, yeah.
So you say that, for the first month or so, it was like, freak out. What am I gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I think everyone goes through that.
yeah.
You're, it's like, it's total. You have to be willing, like, go out there, you have to come out here with a goal. You're never going to end up, with you personally, I know, I'm never going to end up on the street because you have, like, a good family at home and, like, knowing
Yeah.
that you have something to fall back on, you know, should propel you forward because you're not like, okay, I go out there for 3 months and I hate it. I can come
Hmm.
back and like you'll be right back, where you were, and you can start back up doing exactly what you're doing. You'll be okay. Other people who don't have such a good like home life, then it's a little bit harder, I think. But I always had great parents, and I always knew, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'll just come back, no problem.
Hmm.
I'll waste a little bit of money, definitely,
Yeah.
moving out here. But so I kind of tried to keep telling myself that to kind of like keep me going forward because I was like, it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's okay. Just try it.
Hmm.
And I didn't give myself a time limit, but I suggest like try and wait it out as long as you can. I know so many people that come out here for just a month and they don't get something in the first month and they get scared and they leave.
Right.
You gotta give it time because the more time you're out here, the more people you'll meet, the more you'll think of more creative ways to you know to meet people and get on different sites and hear about things. So you need to give yourself time. That being said, it's really hard. Once you get out here, I was out here, yeah, I think went a whole month without anything, and then and I was about to like start standing outside of studios and just like flyering my resume. Like I had
Hmm.
literally no idea what to do. And then finally, yeah, like I said, this one kid who I'm now really good friends with, like I asked everyone I knew in California if they wanted to meet up for drinks, that I would drive wherever they were, and so finally this kid was like, yeah, meet up with me after work. We talked. It was a little bit awkward because we hadn't seen each other forever, but it was like whatever. And he ended up being my in. So and like I said, he was nothing crazy, no big executive. He was just another PA. So like really anyone who knows anything about
Hmm.
about the world can introduce you to other people and get you started. And once you have a little bit of a circle, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you'll find something. Especially if you're open at first to doing anything. If you're just looking for work and you'll say I'll do anything, then people will hire you.
Yeah. Because that's part of it too. It's like worrying, if you are the entry, just PA, runner, whatever they decide to call it, is it enough to be able to support yourself? Like, or is it best to have roommates, or all of that?
Yeah.
Realistically speaking.
Yeah. I think it's definitely easier to when you have an apartment in LA to be splitting it with someone.
Hmm.
I thankfully came out here with a permanent roommate, which not a lot of people have the luxury of. But um, I mean, and we've both been unemployed separately and at the same time, and have been able to make it work. But yeah, it's tough when you're by yourself just because it's hard to find. If you're coming out with just a little bit of savings and you don't know when you're going to work again, to find a place
Yeah.
that's not super in the ghetto and scary,
Yeah.
and affordable, and in my case, like allows big dogs, so it's like always hard.
Hmm.
But like there, yeah, there are ways. I mean, Craigslist. I would suggest if you could find a roommate, because if you already have someone that if you know a little bit about them and they're not a complete stranger and they already live out here, then that's your first connection. They're gonna know people. Great, but people do it, by themselves all the time too. You just gotta kind of hunt for kind of maybe like a 6-month lease in a cheap apartment so that you're not like stuck there forever. And once you get a job, you can move on to something a little bit
Right.
better. That kind of thing.
And would you say that Craigslist is as good as any, or?
Yeah, I mean, people use Craigslist for everything out here. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I use it more now than I did ever in Florida. People put job postings up on there, and you would think like no one hires people off of Craigslist, but they hire more people off of Craigslist than they do a lot of other sites, which is
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Well, you wouldn't want to look at the Craigslist for video and TV jobs around here, because when there are postings, it's generally for girls in supposed adult films, make $1,000 to $5,000 a day, and it's like, uh, right.
Yeah.
And so that's good to know. After that first month, what were the next 2 to 6 months like?
So I would say like halfway into the second month is when I got the call to be a PA at this reality production company, and it started off I think 2 or 3 days a week. They wanted to like try me out. It was for an office PA position.
Hmm.
So like you said, like general runner, PA, basically like the maid who like cleans up everything after everyone and
Hmm.
like hands out like copies and fills the printers and then also goes to runs and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
get some food every now and again.
yeah, uh,
Coffee, all that good
coffee,
stuff.
yeah, coffee for the president. And but it ended up being, I mean, crazy PA stories, but I highly suggest it as being a runner when you come out here because you learn your way around so much quicker if you're forced to make a million runs every
Hmm.
day. And also, I got to do some pretty cool runs where I got to go to like the studios and sometimes I would pretend to get lost and be in the Paramount lot and just be like walking around in the sense of like all my favorite movies were filmed. It's just really cool. So even when you're doing kind of a shitty job, you're still you're like that's what I always come back to is like you're still in LA. Like this is still really
Right.
cool. So like I would be doing runs, but like I'd be driving past the Hollywood sign and I'd be like, I'm driving past the Hollywood sign right now. That is insane. Or like um or yeah, just doing a quick run to the Fox lot and being like, I'm at Fox. Like TV shows are filmed here every day. Like,
Right, right.
so even when you're doing the crappy work, you still like you're still in it. Like you still feel like you're, going somewhere, doing something. And then,
Hmm.
and I just suggest, like, when you're a PA and when you're a runner, like I said, be upfront about what you're trying to do and what your goals are, so that people try and help you, and be as like nice and friendly and efficient as possible. Those are like being nice and efficient are like the only things that really
Hmm.
matter because you think this was one of my concerns moving out here was that like everyone's moving out to LA and everyone's trying to get in as PA and everyone's going to do the hardest work and like be amazing because they moved all the way out here and they want to do it. That's not totally true. You can be the best PA very easily. There's a lot of people out here who are PAing who do not give a shit. So like
Right.
if you care about what you're doing just like a little bit and you have a smile on your face, like people are gonna be like, wow, that guy's amazing or that girl's amazing because like if so many PAs have been in the game for so long that they like no longer really, give it 100%. So if they see that you're motivated, they'll recognize you and you'll get more gigs and then eventually move up the chain.
Do you have any continuing thoughts or fears? And
yes.
how do you approach them?
So like I said, right now, I just recently, I moved my way up in casting, and I hit every step, and I always suggest doing that too, no matter what your path is in the industry, is like trying to work your way up, because I feel like you are so much better off if you know what everyone beneath you has been through, is going through, and what they're doing. So, which is something I'd always heard, but like I totally think it's true now. So I was a casting PA, and then I was a casting assistant, and then associate coordinator, and a coordinator, and now a manager. And I feel like, and I'm proud of that. But like I said, like I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I did that. Like, good job. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to like really try and do what I want to do. So so I sent out this email, which was very scary, to like all the people that I've worked with in TV so far, and said like, I'm taking a hiatus from casting and I'm trying to do comedy writing. And first of all, like, okay, so many fears, like so scary. I don't know if I'm that good at it. I think I might be, but like I'm practicing and I'm trying, but like who knows, people are trying to be nice and saying like, oh, I'll, forward your stuff along, but I know that I'm pretty green in writing. I think I probably need to start back at the bottom and work my way up like I did for casting. So like, I'd be afraid to be given a bigger position. Like that would be awesome, but I'd be also really scared about it because I wouldn't want to like fail my first time out.
Right.
And just being unemployed is scary in itself. So yeah, I'm just kind of like I'm kind of in that exact same spot where I felt my first month when I moved out here. I'm anxious and looking at job postings every day and trying to figure out, okay, who do I know? Like, who knows people? It's kind of the exact same thing. And, writing cover letters, thinking about temp agencies and, like, things that I thought that I might have been past. But, if you want to start on the right path, you got to do it all over again. So, yeah, I got a lot of anxieties currently trying to figure out if this is going to work out. And you don't want to send out a big thing like that and say like, I'm going on hiatus, I'm going to do writing, and then be like, oh, hey, by the way, I need another gig because, it's taking too long or whatever. Like, I don't want to be that guy that goes back on his, on what they said. So I would like to hopefully, get something soon before it gets to the point where I have to go back and try and beg for another job back.
Right. Well, and through all this, you have a smile on your face. It's not as if you're, at least as far as I can tell, you're not cowering under the covers and, oh, woe is me.
Yeah.
What?
Not yet.
Not yet. There's still time, right? I guess, what is motivating you to not do that?
Well, I feel like I've had little baby steps. They haven't been huge things, but like I said, my friends out here have, a few of them at least, have been like either just really supportive and being like, I think you're going to be great at this. So like, that kind of pushes me forward. Like, people cheering me on. A couple people have hooked me up with people that they know. So I've done I feel like I've been doing coffee and drinks with like everyone's cousin, everyone's, friend of a friend of my dad's friend.
Yeah. A series of uppers and downers.
Yeah. I've been, talking to I've actually gotten an opportunity to talk to a couple TV writers, which has been awesome. And they, like obviously no like job offers like you are great, here's your job, but just like people telling me about the industry and kind of furthering the belief
Hmm.
that that is what I want to do because I know what I do now. And I think when I moved out here, I was like, oh sure, like casting sounds fun, like why not? But
Sure.
I think when I think about my day to day and what I do in casting, and when they were telling me, oh, we sit around the writers' table, oh, we, all these things that, and like, I felt myself getting excited, like, yes, that is like, I feel like that's the environment I want to be in. So like,
Hmm.
just the excitement and the motivation, I think, is like, and just having, little breadcrumbs of people, like, you're doing great. And I started, taking improv classes at UCB, and like, the people there are really supportive, and that's a great community. So, trying to keep busy and trying to like, you know, uh, keep reaching out to people. You can never stop, um, you know, mingling, I guess, like
Yeah.
trying to, because once you stop talking to people, they forget about you very easily. So you have to be like, it seems you have to be very annoying and be like, still here, like,
Remember me?
yeah.
Um, and so that's been your process. You you meet people, you start doing improv. You take other classes for writing, or has it just been, I feel like I can write pretty well, and meeting up with people and going
I
from
took a
there?
Yeah, I took a sketch writing class at UCB as well, but I haven't taken any other. I mean, I took writing classes in college, TV writing classes, so I felt like I knew the programs and I knew like the basics.
Hmm.
Um, but from there, I basically have just been studying scripts of shows that I like and trying to like copy it or or learn from it.
Hmm.
Um, but I would definitely take a writing class, but being unemployed, there's not a lot of income, so
Right,
trying to save
right.
money. But yeah, like I think at the end of the day, I just like always like kind of I'm one of those people. I'm positive by nature, so I kind of just have to keep telling myself like it's gonna work out. And so that's what when my parents call me and they're like, still no job offers, huh? And I'm like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Like I just have to like plug my ears
La
and
la 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 la
yeah,
la la
yeah.
la.
I'm not like I definitely have days where I'm like super filled with anxiety
Hmm.
and I feel like like it's not gonna work out. No one's calling. No one's doing it. Like you're gonna have those days, possibly weeks,
Hmm.
possibly months. But I think keeping busy is like huge, and trying to surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to be doing, even if you don't like. Like I said, I kind of ran out of people. I didn't know that many people in scripted at all, and so I was like, let me do UCB where I know people, So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it would be for your stuff, like, but like if you can find organizations, clubs, classes that people, even if they're
Mhm.
not big deals, if you know that they know people and they know more than you, then like surrounding yourself with those kind of people, you'll
Right.
eventually you'll learn more. You'll figure it out.
Well, I know that my goal would be camera work or, producing or, what have you.
Yeah.
So if you know anybody.
Yeah. Well, I do know a ton of people, but they're in reality. I don't know if you,
Yeah.
but like it's a great. That's why I'm always afraid. I have friends that have moved out here since I moved out here, and I always want to be the first one to be like, let me introduce you to everyone I know because I wish that someone had done that for me. And
Sure.
but I don't know many people that move out here with the dream of working in reality, and that's kind of all my connections. So I'm always like a little bit
Uh-huh.
weary. I'm like, but like, uh, but yeah, I always try to connect people, but then they always end up, working in reality and kind of following that same path that I did, and I kind of like, want don't want
Hmm.
people to follow that if that's not what they want to do.
Right. I gotcha. Um,
But it's much
was
easier to
there
get into.
hmm?
It's much easier. There's just many more jobs for reality out here
Right.
these days, so it's much easier to find those kind of jobs.
Right. Yeah, and that's been a lot of the bigger stuff that I've worked on around here has been reality. And so, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's reality, I guess. Um, has there been, or what was, and I guess it can still happen again. Well, of course it can happen again. Since now you're kind of changing course, but as far as I guess just in general, where you felt like, okay, this is starting to click, this is starting to work. Can you think of when there was a turning point that you were like, okay, I'm on a good path now, instead of trying to, tread water?
Yeah. I feel like I was trying to think about that before, and I think I've had like a few moments like that. The first moment is like driving out of Florida. I think crossing the Florida state line when we moved out here. I like
Mm-hmm.
felt it that I was like that I was like we are making the right decision. Like I know that this is where like I feel like very few moments in life you have those like kind of things like I'm supposed to be here right now. Like these are like this is like I like feel like things are going my way. So
Mm-hmm.
like moving out here first of all, and then immediately followed by like super a lot of fear and like a little bit
Yeah.
of regret when I moved out here. I was like, oh god, like wait, I thought I was supposed to move out here. Oh wait, I don't know what I'm doing. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was scary.
What
It's kind
was
of
I
like
thinking?
yeah. Um, and then like getting that first job, was like a huge sigh of relief, even though it was still, I was getting like 2 days a week and then maybe 3 days a week. And like, but the biggest thing, I've worked as a PA for 9 months, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
became like a full-time PA, which was rough in the office, just working 12 hours a day because they work
Mm-hmm.
you production hours, but
Right.
in the office just because they can, because you're getting paid for a daily rate, which is 12 hours. So like,
Right.
no one should ever be in an office that long.
Yeah.
You're like there before everyone gets there. You're there after everyone leaves.
Yeah.
So finally, when I started talking to the casting people, when I started doing like little side freelance gigs for them, and then when I finally got my first full time position in casting, like that was like a huge moment for me because I like the moment I went from PA to, I mean, it still was like technically casting PA, it was casting assistant. At least like
Mm-hmm.
I had like, I had my own desk and I placed like I had, that was like a huge, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm working in the industry now, because
Right.
before it had been so, am I working tomorrow? I don't know. Like, I'd have to wait for them to call me or,
Yeah.
it was, and the more they like you, the more you kind of have more confidence. Like, oh, they need me tomorrow, so I'm, definitely gonna be here. Like, it's not always super scary, but still, like having like, okay, you're gonna work for the next 3 or 4 months, on this job.
Right.
Like, oh, that's a real job. All right, cool, I'll take it. But I'm still freelance. I've never not been freelance, so it's continuously scary because you can be on a show and that show, I work on Biggest Loser, for instance, and I've worked on it for the last like 4 or 5 seasons, and when it's just because it's the same show, it doesn't mean you're gonna get hired again. Like every time they do it, it's a new crew. I mean, generally, if they like you, they hire you again, but it's all about budget, who they bring on, and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't really apply for jobs out here, but it's kind of like you have to reapply for each job, but you don't actually apply. You just kind of say, hey, boss, I would like to work on this season again. Um, but so I mean, every time a show is over, finding the next show, is still it's so it's not like, oh, I got this position and it's been like smooth sailing ever since. No, like every time a show ends, I'm unemployed again and I have to
Mm-hmm.
find new work. But the more shows you work on, the more people and people, oh, Jen's available. Oh, cool, I have something, and you kind of just get passed around town, and which is great because then you meet. It's literally pretty much all about meeting as many people as you can.
Right. Right. That's kind of what I go through now, but without it being LA and without as many things going on.
Yeah.
Um,
it's a small town. People say this all the time. It kind of bugs me, and I hate when people say things that are like cliche. But when you move here, you think like, oh my God, how am I ever gonna break in to
Right.
LA? It's Los Angeles. Like, there's a million people here. But like, especially once you get into like the smaller groups of like especially like casting that I'm in now, or like certain, like if you're trying to do AC work or whatever, like trying to get into those fields, like it's a small group of people. So like once you know a couple people,
Hmm.
it opens up, like, pretty quickly, because you don't expect it, because when you're on the outside, it does feel impossible to get in. But like once you have
Right.
that small opening, it's very easy, as long as you work really hard and like stay motivated. It's very easy to keep going once you get in.
Hmm. Yeah, from the outside looking in, it seems, I don't know, scary
Yeah,
and
it's super
just.
daunting.
um. Now, how long have you been out there now? Four
It'll be 4
years?
years in October.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've had plenty of experiences, good or bad. What has been the most memorable one so far
Um. Okay. Well, if I
that
tell
you
like
can
a
talk about
if I
anyway?
tell if I tell a PA horror story, will it discourage you? I don't want to discourage you.
I've I've had some pretty bad ones, so
Yeah.
it's kind of expected to a certain extent.
Well, this is like the one that I definitely most memorable, because it will forever be in my mind. So I was working on. I think I was PAing at this reality production office, but I had done a freelance gig and been a cast wrangler for MasterChef, cooking show
Hmm.
on Fox. And so I have since worked on that show I did a couple of seasons on that show. I don't really work on it anymore. But so I left my car at the production office. They were having a wrap party down the street for MasterChef, so I was going to go. So I left my car there, and this is right in the middle of Hollywood, which, by the way, I don't know if you know. Have you ever been to LA?
No,
Um,
the furthest west I've been would either be Colorado or Arizona.
yeah.
So,
I'd only been out here once for a chorus trip before I moved out here, so I didn't know anything about LA moving out here either. Um,
mhm.
but so when you think of Hollywood, do you think of like, oh, Hollywood, like glamour, like kind of like a Beverly Hills kind of thing?
I think of it as being a lot of traffic, a lot of people in a hurry, or, everything being crazy expensive. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
because
Just, um,
Hollywood, the neighborhood is
yeah.
like dangerous, and like not like it's like
Right.
it's like not that great of an area. So like if I had moved out here and I'd been like, what's the one place you wanna like? Where would you like to find an apartment? I would have been like, Hollywood, but no, 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 you don't want to live in Hollywood. So my office, I mean, there is tons of touristy stuff there you can go, see, but like
Sure.
not the best area, especially at night. So my office was right in the middle of Hollywood, and the party was right down the street. And so I went to this party, got out really late, um,
Hmm.
and the street was blocked off. There was like caution tape. And living out here, you see caution tape and you immediately think something's filming. So I was like, oh, something's filming on our street. Cool. So I like walked under the caution tape thinking like, oh, I'll just be discreet. And they're like, ma'am, this is a crime scene. Like, get back under the tape. And I'm like, what? And like, I'm super naive and like always think everything's like roses and happy. So like, I was like,
Sure.
crime scene? What happened? So they're like, you're gonna have to walk around. So I walk around the whole block, go to the other end, and the other end of the street is blocked off. So my office is right in the middle of the street. So both ends are blocked off. And
Mm.
they're like, you're not gonna be like, this is a serious crime. You're not gonna be able to get in here tonight. So my boyfriend at the time, Matt, had to come pick me up, had to drive me to work the next morning because my car was still there. The next morning, I
Hmm.
walk in to our driveway. This is disgusting, filled with blood in the
Wow.
driveway. And so I walk in, everyone, all the PAs, which only people in the office because it's early, are like, what the hell happened? Like, there's blood in our driveway, like freaking out. And come to find out that there's a club up the street. Someone had gotten into altercation, fought all the way down the street, and then got stabbed right in front of our office.
Wow.
So we were like, oh my God, like, why didn't they clean this up? Why is there not caution tape still up? Like, this is really scary. And then our boss comes in, and so we all kind of scatter, and she calls us over walkie and is like, and we all knew that like she was gonna see it, and so she called us all together, and she was like, so we really don't want our clients to be like walking into like a puddle of blood, so like we're gonna need to like clean it up. And we were like, that's not our job. So we all like ran away, and she immediately called for a free PA over walkie. And so me and my friend, he did it. I mostly just watched and like gagged in the corner, but he just like stood over it, was like, and like poured bleach on this like crime scene. And we were like, we're pretty sure, A, like we're not supposed to touch crime scenes and like mess with this stuff. B, like who knows if we touch this, like what diseases we could get. And like we're PAs, we're supposed to be like filing things, not cleaning up. So yeah. So finally the cops came, told us to stop, told us not to touch anything, and they took care of it. But like, holy moly, that was the worst day, the worst morning of my PA career.
Wow. Being told to clean up blood.
Yeah, and like being there the night before, so like I think it happened just moments before, I had tried to get my car, so like that was scary too, because I was like, oh shit, I could have been there for that.
Yeah, could have witnessed it. Yeah, that would have been bad. Whenever I think about moving to big city, just in general, here is big city.
Mm-hmm.
Be it LA or otherwise, seems like the trends are, or myths. Everything costs more.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic is terrible. People are jerks. We've touched on it a little bit, but what has your experience in general been?
Everything is more expensive, but not crazy. Like sales tax out here is much higher. That sucks. But like
it's like 6% here.
Yeah, it's like 9.8 here, I think. Like gas is a little bit more expensive. Like housing is definitely, you're gonna get a bedroom house in Florida for like $800 a month. We were paying when we first moved out here, I think like $1,200 for a 400 square foot apartment that was a studio. Like you're gonna get a whole lot less space for your money, but like you just kind of have to like subscribe to that. You're like, okay, like stay true to what you can afford. Don't pay for when you first move out here. Don't come out here being like, I need to have this much space. Like if you're one person, live in a studio. Like pay what you can afford and live in a box for a little while until you like make things work. Like those kind of things don't bother me that much. Like but traffic is god awful. Like yes, like you're always gonna hear that about LA. But the thing is, you can't if you're freelance, you can't base where you live off of where you work, because so many people I know are like, oh, well, I want to see where my next job is, figure out where I'm going to move to. Like, you're always going to be moving around to different companies, different places. Like, if you can pick somewhere central, great, but like, go where you can afford when you first move out. Like, North Hollywood is like a newcomer's paradise. That's where we started, in Burbank, North Hollywood area. It's like a little bit calmer. It's in the valley, so it's like, and a little bit less expensive. There's places around town that you can afford, and you can find, that you don't have a ton of space that you can, work off of. And traffic, you're just gonna have to like, deal with it.
Right.
Have a good car, have a GPS, absolutely. Those are things that any job is gonna ask you when you move out here. Do you have a reliable form of transportation? Do you have GPS? Do you have email on your cell phone? Like those things. But like as long as you have good music or a podcast or something, and like you're used to being in your car, then just like at the end of the day, you're in California. You can open your windows. It's not too bad. Like it's I'd much rather drive in LA than drive in New York City, but that's just me. But it's stressful no matter what. But you just have to plan accordingly. But as far as the people being jerks, I have been very lucky, and I have not run into very many jerks out here. I've heard, and I have no experience in this, so I don't know, but I've heard that the agency world can be very tough. People who work at the big time agencies that represent big movie stars like CIA and WME and like all those big ones that it's really hard. They like work in the mailroom and be an assistant and like all those things, and the whole way up you're just being like screamed at and yelled at the whole time. I've heard horror stories. I've seen Entourage, and I've heard I've heard that exists out here.
Right.
But as a general rule, most places that you work will not treat you like that, and you won't so I think like as long as you know what you're getting into, if you know you're getting into you're going to work in Beverly Hills and you're going to be an agent's assistant, you're going to kind of prepare yourself to be in that kind of world. But outside of that, I haven't come across too many assholes.
Generally, people are fairly good.
Yeah. I mean, most people out here are out here because they've been dying to live here their whole lives, and like they're finally moving out here and they're trying to make their dreams come true. Or they're from California, and people from California like love California, and they're just like, everything's amazing. I'm still in California. So So I mean, the meanest people you're gonna get generally like starting off are like the angry like 30-something PAs who are still PAs and like mad at the world because they haven't gotten moved up. Like those are the grumpiest kind of people I've come across.
Aside from work, what do you enjoy about living in LA?
So this is one thing that most people say, but like being in LA, you're in the middle, like you can do pretty much anything that you want. If you have like a weekend, you can go up to the mountains and go skiing and hiking and go to Big Bear and things like that, or you can very easily drive 30 minutes the other direction and go to the beach. So like you can pretty like anything outdoors wise, and the weather's always pretty great. There's no humidity, which is amazing. Moving from Florida, we moved to
quite a bit.
Moving, and I worked outside during the summer when I lived in Florida, and so like it was awful. So moving out here, I mean, we lived in the valley for the first year, and everyone said, "Oh my God, the valley is like sweltering. It's awful." And we're like, "Feels fine to us because it would be 100 degrees, but it wouldn't feel like it wouldn't feel humid at all." So you can always go outside and do pretty much anything you want to do. We go to the beach a lot. We have a dog who is like our life, so we do anything for him. So we go down and take him to the dog beach, or we go to movies a lot because people really respect the movies out here. So there's so many really interesting, cool theaters that you can go to where like you have an assigned seat, like you're going to a theater like to see a play. So you like sign up ahead of time, you get an assigned seat, and they make everyone shut off their cell phones, like person to person. They tell everyone like, okay, now everyone turn off your cell phones. So like everyone stays through the credits, which can get annoying for some things, but like it's cool watching movies with other people who like respect movies because makes it even better. So we do that a lot, and hang out, do happy hour. People, people like that's how you meet people out, going out to drinks, going out mingling, so we do that a lot. Try and go around Santa Monica or something and go get drinks and good food, things like that.
Hmm. Very cool. Um, I guess I don't know how long we've been going. I don't see any way to count or anything. It's probably been for a while, for all I know. Um, but
It's been like 50 minutes, something, maybe an hour.
maybe an hour, give or
Yeah.
take. Um, if we were to wrap it up, what advice would you have for anyone
Oh boy.
considering moving out to LA?
Okay. I might have to do this more than once. Let's see.
Okay,
Sometimes that can be long-winded.
that's fine.
I I personally say do it. If you have it in your head that you've been thinking about it for a while and you're trying to figure out, there's always going to be reasons not to do it. But if you are, especially if you're like you are 28 and
Hmm.
if you are unattached right now, you don't have anything like where you need to stay in Florida. Like I understand a lot of people. I had a friend who's married who is like kind of in the mid 30s range, kind of has a little bit more responsibilities, about to have thinking about having kids, things like that. Like I understand people that have those kind of things holding them back, and then you have to think about logistics more. But for you, or for anyone who is like either unattached or has someone who's willing to move with them, who is still young or still feels like they're young and can move out here without causing too much of a ruckus in your personal life, I say do it. You'll figure it out once you get here. You have to get here because my parents always told me, find a job out there and then move. And there
That's
was
what
this
mine say.
yeah. Make sure you have some security, or like I remember Matt before we moved was saying, you go first, you find a job, and then I'll follow you. Well, I knew that was never going to work. Like I knew either I would be coming rushing home because I missed him, or we wouldn't work out. I didn't want either one of those things to happen. And I was, so it's tough, but you're never. And I'm so glad when I hear this over and over again from people out here. People are like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to hire him. He doesn't even live in LA." And I'm like, "Thank you," because like I always keep telling people, they will not hire you if you don't live here. So sometimes I even tell people to like put LA address. At least they'll call you, and then you can say like, "Oh, well, I'm living in Florida right now. You can figure it out." But they won't even call you if they see Florida or Georgia or anywhere besides for here, because they want someone who's good, but they want someone more who's here and available.
Hmm.
So they'll pick someone shitty who lives next door over someone who has worked on every movie that's ever been done in Florida because you're in Florida. So,
Right.
so getting here and being available and being willing to start slow and be willing to do anything at first just to get your feet wet, and just allowing yourself to figure it out from there. So yeah, that's my biggest my biggest thing. And always be true about what you want to do is my new thing, because you don't have to act like whatever you're doing at that time is like the most important thing. You can be honest about what you want to do, and as long as you don't insult the people who are doing whatever
Right.
you're working at. Like I would never work for a reality saying, I hate reality, this sucks. But if you say, I'm like working in reality right now, but I'm just trying to meet people and I'm trying to eventually become a writer, then you get a lot more help and people behind you supporting you and giving you recommendations. So yeah, I say do it. Leap and a net will appear, John.
Cool. I think that's all my questions.
wanted a good like line to to sum it up.
Jump in the net will appear. Well, I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.
So at least for that part.